Good morning. It is 6:30 a.m. on Saturday, June 17th, 2017. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. Up early today for Saturday because I have to take Luna to the animal hospital for her scope test, which will hopefully tell us more about what's going on inside her little puppy butt. That's a little weird way to say it. Anyway, yeah, so that's happening. But I think the focus of what I want to just talk about today is that I also this week finally caught up with yet another YouTube videos series about live playing Dungeons and Dragons, and that is Dice Camera Action. I say another because, of course, Critical Role I'm still following, but have been caught up on that one for a while. Dice Camera Action, I just only recently caught up, and it's interesting, first of all, that I recognize over the last, you know, uh, 6, 7 months, how much time I've spent consuming those two series. It's a lot, um, because Critical Role has often, 3.5 hour plus, sometimes significantly plus episodes once a week, and there's like 100 of them. Dice Camera Action is not quite so extreme. It's usually about 2 hours each episode, and they just had episode 52, which is still a lot, right? But it's really good. And what I kind of was thinking about is that it's very, I don't know, very different is maybe an overstatement, but it's interesting to note the differences between, say, Critical Role and Dice Camera Action. Excuse me, which is DM'd by Christopher Perkins, who works for Wizards of the Coast. And in fact, so the stream starts with them running the Curse of Strahd module, and Chris Perkins is actually he's the primary game designer for that module. So it's kind of in some ways it's almost more like an official stream, right? It's actually put out on the D&D YouTube channel, like the official one. Which of course, doesn't make anyone else's game wrong at all, right? It's just a matter of it's notable for that reason though. And it's got it's got three, maybe, it's got 4 players, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm really tired. 4 players, but it's interesting just because while these 4 players are not, they're, they really, I don't know. I'm having a hard time putting my finger on this, maybe because I'm so tired, but they feel like a different flavor of character than with Critical Role's characters, where in Dice Camera Action, their characters and that team comes to be known as the Waffle Crew. The game there on that one is interesting because, oh God, I'm really not being clear this morning. I apologize, you guys. I think the short version of what I'm trying to say is that while the storytelling is still great, in a lot of ways the whole thing feels more more like a game. Like there's less attempt to ground the story and more focus placed on having epic things happen and extremes of personality. And so especially the party has 2 really extreme characters in terms of their behavior. One is a paladin who's just the optimistic to a fault, bright and cheery, super religious personality, and played to a T, like to the hilt, like all the time. And then the other one is a tiefling sorcerer who is just constantly terrified of everything and paranoid and suspicious and panicking. And both of those characters played for a lot of humor. And then the other two, uh, you've got one character who's kind of like his character is defined by his sort of not apathy, but sort of underselling his reactions to things, like because all this chaos will be happening all around him, and the Chris Perkins as the DM will have just made this epic monologue speech plea for help in character voice, and it's this dire situation, and a lovable NPC needs help, and will you help? Will you help us? And then that character is just like, okay. And I don't know, in out of context, it doesn't sound any good. And then you have a straight man character. I My thoughts are not very organized this morning. I apologize, you guys. I think what I really wanted to get at is the thing that stands out more to me in terms of the different style between Chris Perkins and Matt Mercer, say, for Critical Role, is Chris Perkins seems much more interested in constantly turning up the heat on the characters instead of just creating this situation and letting the characters explore it. He's sort of constantly looking for ways to have things go worse and worse for the characters, and letting terrible, terrible things happen. Like in cases where it's not obvious that something terrible would happen and the characters are trying to do something good, but they just didn't think through some teeny piece of it. He is more than happy to have that go horribly, horribly wrong. Like, a recent example is that in the attempt to save a bunch of slaves, one of the characters accidentally ended up incinerating them all by accident. And so it's an interesting difference in style, and it's got me thinking more too about just the idea of, like, everyone is just ever so slightly less invested in keeping the story feeling real or grounded, and more heightened on having it be kind of epic and crazy, which is interesting as a subtle difference. Anyway, I'm going on and on. I need to get ready, and I'm going to take Luna in, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes. I should be talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, but we'll see how I'm feeling about it. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow for 5 more minutes.